guys, it's Kasera, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books in series. Video I talked about my least favorite book in series, so this time I'm going to be talking about my favorite books in series. Today you guys are going to get to hear me gush a little bit. So of course we have to start this out with the Harry Potter series, and my favorite book in the Harry Potter series is The Prisoner of Azkaban. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion because most people don't seem to like this book as much as I do, but every time I reread this series, this is where like I fall in love with the series all over again. I absolutely love this book, and I think part of the reason I love this book is because Voldemort does not make an appearance in this book. He makes an appearance in pretty much all the other books in some way, shape, or form, but he is not in this one, and I think that's why I like it. I just like the good times, you know? I also think like the plot is very well formed in this book, and there are so many kind of like little subplots coming together that just weave together so well in this book between Hermione and Professor Lupin and the twins and like all of the stuff that like we've been hinted at throughout the whole book. They just come together so well and is so well done. There's the time travel trope in this book, which is one of my favorite tropes, and I don't see it done enough, and I just love the way it was done in this book. Just like the idea of how time travel works in this book is very interesting. So I absolutely loved everything about this book. Also, like, Quidditch is fantastic in this book. This is the best book for Quidditch in the entire series because it was just, I loved the Quidditch Cup in this one. So yes, I absolutely love this one. Okay, so the next series that I talked about is the Underland Chronicles by Suzanne, and my favorite book in that series is The Code of Claw. So this is the fifth and final book in that series, and I absolutely loved it. In this series, like literally every book in this series is better than the last book in the series. It's just written so well, and you get to know the characters more deeply with each and every book and get to know the world and the culture that is going on in that world. And in this book, we finally get to sort of meet Gregor's younger sister Lizzie and get to see like her kind of shine. So you get a little bit of her coming of age story as well as his own, which I really love that aspect of this book, and it is definitely my favorite. And of course, Gregor is like at top game in this book. Like the things that he does in this book, like I don't know many adults that would be able to do what he does in this book. And it's just like, it's so admirable and uplifting to have a character like him. Now I want to reread this series now that I'm thinking about it, but it's just such a great ending to a wonderful series. The next series that I talked about is the Hunger Games Trilogy by Suzanne. My favorite book in that series is The Hunger Games, the first book in the series. I just thought The Hunger Games was just so well done. I love Katniss in The Hunger Games. I think her character has some of the best character moments in the series in the first book. Like, I think it was just so well done. I honestly would have been completely fine with this series being one book long and just ending at the Hunger Games because the other books were a little bit disappointing to me. I just really loved like the concept of everything, how it closed, opened and closed. Like it was just perfect story arc and everything. And I really enjoy this first book. I really love it. So the next series I want to talk about is the Twilight Saga by Stephanie Meyer. This is not one of my favorite series ever, but my favorite book in this series has got to be Eclipse. I feel like in Eclipse, we finally get a little bit of world building because we get to hear like Jasper's backstory and all of the stuff with the New Bloods, which was actually just very interesting to me. And I like the like conflict that they have at the end of this one. To me, this is just such a really good ending and plot for the book. I wish we could have gotten point of views from other characters in the book other than Bella, because some of the other characters would have had some really good action scenes that would have been really interesting, which I guess we sort of got in the movie. I also really liked the love triangle aspect of this one too. Like, I know people don't like love triangles. I felt like there needed to be a little competition in the relationship in the series because Bella-Edward relationship was just a little too obsessive. I felt like Jacob's addition to it kind of made it a little bit healthier, because she no longer like had him as her whole life. Like there was more to her life than just Edward, and I really enjoyed that part of the series. So the next series I want to talk about is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini, and my favorite book in that series is definitely Brissinger. I don't know why, but this has always been my favorite book in this series. I just feel like the main character, Aragon, is like at his best in this book. Like I feel like he finally like had become who he was supposed to become in this book. It just felt like really good to be like at the height of his ability. So I really love that book for this one. I'm trying to think of other reasons, because there was a time when this was like my favorite book ever, but I feel like I maybe need to do a reread of these, because I can't think of why. There was so many things about this book that I used to love. I'm suddenly wanting to reread this series just thinking about this book. So if you like are interested in hearing me go in depth in any of these series, I would definitely be up for doing a reread. So just comment down below and let me know, and I will consider that depending on the series that you choose. But if you choose this one, I will definitely do that. But yes, this one was definitely my favorite. The next series I want to talk about is the Grocery Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, and my favorite book in that trilogy is Shadow and Bone. This is the first book in this series, which is interesting to me because I almost never like the first book in a series, but I really loved this one. And I think the reason why I love this one so much is because of the Darkling and like his whole crew. Like you get to know all of the different Grisha, and I feel like you just got to like dive into this world a little bit, and I did really like getting to know the Darkling and getting to know all of the other Grisha and all of that happens in this book. And I wanted the second book to be more like the first one. I did really enjoy this one, and I want more from this world. So I'm excited for the new series that's coming out now also. And the next series I want to talk about is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and my favorite in that series has got to be Winter, the fourth book in the series. I think the reason why I like this one is I like a good ending, and just seeing all of the plots come to a head and get ended so well. I thought it was just really well done, and I really loved it. I also like Princess Winter. I absolutely adored her and her plot line, so I loved pretty much everything about this book. The next series that I talked about was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and my favorite in the trilogy has got to be Wings of Ruin. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion because a lot of people like Court of Mist and Fury better than A Court of Wings and Ruin, but I really liked the ending to this series. I think part of the reason why I like the ending is because I didn't realize until this book how attached to the characters I were. Like I actually feared for their lives in this book. Like I did not want them to die, which surprised me because usually in my books I'm like kind of okay with the characters dying, not gonna lie. But in this one, like there was not a single character that I was like was okay with dying. Like I wanted them all to live. Also, there were things in A Court of Mist and Fury that kind of disappointed me that I know a lot of other people still really loved it, but I felt like the relationship in A Court of Mist and Fury was still happening in A Court of Wings and Ruin. Like it was still like a good relationship, and there is a lot of good plot in A Court of Wings and Ruin. There is one scene that I was just kind of like, why would you do that? And it's a scene with like Tamlin, and when he like says things, let's just put it that way, that I was like really disappointed in the book by. But other than that, I really love this book. The next series I want to talk about is the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire, and my favorite in this series is In an Absent Dream. I think the reason why I like this one so much is because I love the goblin market and everything about it, and I felt like you could read this one without having read any of the other books and you would have still really enjoyed it. So that's why I like this one, because the world building just like really grabbed my attention, and I really love the way the world was constructed. The next series I want to talk about is the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, and my favorite book in this series is Artificial Condition. This is the second book in this series. This one's up for a BookTube SFF award this year, and I absolutely loved this book so much. The main reason I love this book is because of Art, which is one of the AIs that is a side character in this book. I absolutely loved Art because Art is this ship that has like this crazy computing power and is smarter than Murderbot. It's just funny to watch Murderbot get put in his place sometimes. So I really loved Art and their relationship between Murderbot and Art, and I thought it was just really well done, and I really enjoyed it. Additionally, I also really liked getting a little bit of backstory into Murderbot and what he went through in the past. So I thought that was also really interesting. The next series that I want to talk about is the Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. And my favorite book in the series is The Final Empire, the first book in the trilogy. I absolutely love this book. The ending definitely caught me off guard. I think like the way this book was constructed was just so well done. I was on my toes the entire time. I absolutely loved it. I loved all of the characters in this book. Like in the later books, some of the characters, even though they're the same characters that are in this book, in the later books they annoy me, but in the first book I really loved who they were in the first book. And yes, so I absolutely love this, and I love Calcier. Calcier, one of my favorite characters. I absolutely love him and everything that he does in this first book. And of course, the last series that I talked about is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, and my favorite book in that series has got to be A Storm of Swords. This book is just so well done. There are so many great plots going on in this book, and all of them weave together so well. There are so many really good plot twists in this book. The first time I read this book, I didn't even realize how many good plot twists were in it, because there was one that kind of like stands out that really catches you off guard, but there are several other plot twists after that that happen that are really well done, and I really enjoyed it. It's really hard after reading this book to find another book that has plot twists that actually like are interesting, because this book just does plot twists so well. So I absolutely love this book so much. Definitely not just one of my favorite in the series, but probably one of my favorite books ever. So yes, definitely really love this book. So that was all my favorite books in a series. If you haven't seen my previous video where I talked about my least favorite books in series, I will link that down below for you guys. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me, or if you have other books in those series that you like more. Let me know your favorites and your least favorite books in those series. I hope you guys really enjoyed watching. I post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, sometimes more than that, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!